Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment, and please welcome a returning guest, Ignacio Esteban. Ignacio, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, buddy. Hey, thanks having me back. I wish it was different circumstances, but I'm glad we're doing this episode regardless.
Yeah, and I think it's important, man. Obviously, anybody that's watched any sort of news outlets or got a cell phone or TMZ or whatever, you can't escape the unfortunate, tragic events that took place down there in Texas this past week, on the heels of another one that took place at a supermarket, a few weeks prior. But these
Yeah,
kind of things, man, they're getting out of hand. They're getting too normal. We shouldn't just open up our phones and look and see where gunmen attack so and so and just think, oh, another one. It's getting out of hand. And what
oh, it
you
is.
and I are going to discuss here today, especially in schools, what can we do to try to prevent this from happening? Because we have two sets of people. We have the set that's pro
Mm.
gun rights, and then we have the set that wants to get rid of the assault weapons and do the bans and all that. So we're going to kind of go over that today and see if we can maybe come up with a happy medium or a solution or something that can solve all this. You're going to kick around some ideas. I'm going to do the same, and
Yeah,
we'll
for
see what
sure.
our viewers think.
Yeah, for sure. It's tragic times, and those were beautiful lives that were lost. And I think we can do better. I think we can do better as a country, and we don't see these kind of tragedies anymore. Couple of solutions. I mean, you think what happened after 9/11
Hmm.
with the airplanes and how the pilots they took over the planes. What did we do? Uh, we armed pilots who want to be armed, and they went to training. They went to classes, and they had guns in the cockpit. We had more air marshals. We had force multiplier like myself as a federal agent. I was there to help out in situation happen. Any federal agent on the plane would talk if there's an air marshal or talk to the pilot and say, "Hey, listen, I'm on seat so and so, and we're here to help out if you need me. So let me know if something happens." So we can use force multipliers. I think if people want to volunteer, maybe law enforcement or whatever. But we need to do a better job of these schools because I mean I thought we were learning after Sandy Hook, which was god awful. That was awful, awful, awful. He's and again, and I think we also have is a mental health crisis in this country. I mean, these guys. You look at case after case. Parkland, the same thing. The kid, the rifle. He posted all this stuff on Facebook or other platforms, and he talks about these things, and he does it. And the sad thing is, history repeats itself a little bit because you had law enforcement on scene who could have done something and they just and I hate to criticize, especially being retired ATF. I don't want to criticize, but when we take the training, what use of force training, I mean, for active shooter training, you got to respond quickly because this guy is killing people.
Yeah, what
You
the
can't
hell
just
was with
let
it?
him
What
stay
did?
there.
Yeah, well, I'm learning more about this. I've had a lot of family in over the last weekend, and my week was crazy, so I didn't get a chance to do a deep dive, into this to catch all the facts and stuff. But from what I'm hearing, there was like a 30 to 40 minute time gap where they were there. They knew the shooting was going on. They just didn't go in. I mean, what the hell's that about?
Found out it's 80 minutes.
80 minutes.
80 minutes of time that they have now adjusted the timeline, and the governor Abbott is livid. His statement has been, "I've been misled.
Well,
I have
damn,
been
rightfully so.
misled."
80 minutes. That's a
Have,
fucking movie.
have you seen? And this is awful. The parents pleading with the police officers. They brought their shotguns. They brought their guns. They said, "Listen, if you don't want to go in there," they're hearing the shots of their kids being killed, and said, "If you don't want to go save them, we'll save our kids."
Yeah, the average movie runtime is about 90 minutes. So you're talking almost a movie's worth of time while you can hear these shots go off and their kids being killed in
Killed.
there. And what the fuck? Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, like, what the
Yeah,
hell is your training? Like, that's your training. That's part of your job. I mean, you're never going to see a fireman, or I hope to God you wouldn't, that don't want to run into a burning building to save anybody because he might get caught on fire.
right. Well, that's why you take that job. You might have to make the ultimate sacrifice one day.
Yeah.
You might have to do it, and it's hard to do it. But when those parents are saying, "What are we doing here waiting?" While he's in there, those kids could have been saved, but a lot of them bled to death. So if they would hit right from the beginning, they had 3 or 4 guys already on the scene. Granted, they're not SWAT guys. Granted, the guy has a rifle, they have pistols. We get that, but that's your job. And you just like unfortunate situations that happened in Parkland. where the sheriff's office stayed outside, and the one resource officer should have gone inside, didn't want to because the guy had a rifle. Okay, I get you. He's got it on you. But if the teachers are jumping in front of the rifle, the attacker, to try and stop it, and they're unarmed, come on, you can at least do something. Go in
Yeah,
there and at
what's
least
that
take
say
cover.
about you?
You got to at least take some cover inside and fire some shots and do something. You can't be outside waiting and say, "Hey, let's wait for the SWAT team."
Yeah, if nothing else,
Do
it
it.
puts the shooter in a mindset of, okay, somebody's out there. Let me, maybe try to put myself in a situation. Even if you grab one hostage and barricade themselves or something, it might slow down the massacre to a certain extent.
Yeah,
If you think
that's
somebody's
what
out there.
that's what they should have done. I think and everybody's been criticizing him, and it's horrible. The chief of police in that town, he called it a barricade situation. But once someone starts shooting, people are dying. You got to go in there and save those people, and save those kids because they're bleeding, they're dying, and it's heartbreaking. Listen to 911 calls. The little kids are calling from the teacher's dead phone, just saying, "Help us! We need help in here." It's just awful. Your teacher. I mean, she's backed up the door, and the guy says good night and kills her, and then it's like House of Horrors.
Holy fuck.
That's why it's horrible. So what can we do to prevent these things? It's such a complex issue. And being with ATF, and there's so many components to this, Wade. So many different components. I mean, obviously, case after case, you had Las Vegas, you had Buffalo, Orlando, the New York subway. I mean, these are all recent things we're having. It's week after week after week. And what do they have in common? A lot of these guys are off their rocker.
Yeah, and
Mental health issues.
I
Mental
think,
health issues.
like what you mentioned earlier, I think there's so much emphasis because let's be honest here, politicians, as we well know, try to use things like this
I do.
to run their agenda, whether they're pro-gun, anti-gun, whatever the fact. And I mean, that's just is shitty to start with. I mean, there's bigger reasons here at stake, but at the same time, I think situations like mental illness is overlooked because a lot of that is I think at the root cause of this.
That's the
Now,
root cause.
I know they're saying that this kid claimed he was bullied or something like that before, but I mean, that don't hold water to me from why
No,
you're
no.
killing up these fourth and fifth graders or whatever it was. I mean, what the hell could they have done?
And
Um,
what do you shoot grandma? So you shoot
yeah,
your grandmother, you put a bullet in her, and then you go with your gifts, and you're giving these two rifles as gifts. I think I'm not sure about this part. I think his family. I'm not sure what the parents gave him to him. These two rifles, and then you go out there and you're texting people. I think he was talking to a friend. He was saying, "I'm going to do." It's just insane, crazy stuff. No one normal person would ever do and think about anything like this unless you just have a lot of health issues that should have been addressed, depression, and a lot of this equals to a lot of things that build up, they snap. And unfortunately, Wade, there's always another copycat killer.
yeah,
As we speak right now, someone got triggered, they watch these events, and they're planning to do the next one.
yeah. Because as we mentioned, it's almost like these things are once a week. You have the subway in New York. You
Oh, yeah.
had the guy in Buffalo at the supermarket. Now you got this asshole here in Texas, and I mean, it's just continuing. And the thing about it, the way I look at it on this gun control is you can take the guns away, but if a bad guy wants to have a gun or wants to get a gun, even not even a bad guy, just somebody that's like you said, mentally off their rocker, if they want to get a hold of a gun to do something like this, they can do it.
They
Frankly,
can do
it's
it.
not that hard.
Very easy.
To get a hold of one, it's not. Um, that's why they have all these murders and stuff going on all the way around the world with these illegal firearms. And I think we've touched on it before in
Sure.
one of our past episodes, the guns that are untraceable. So it's not that hard to get a gun to do it. So I think that's like, putting a band-aid on a broken leg, to be quite honest. It might make it just a little bit harder for the people that use them for the right reasons to get them. But, like you mentioned 9/11 and what we did there. I do think that the teachers that, want to be armed, I think that's a good
That's a good
thing to
thing.
do.
Yeah.
Obviously, not having. I don't even know if I would maybe say leave it on the teachers because if something was to happen and the teacher got incapacitated and the students got it, just say if it was something not even gun related, if it was like a fight or something like that, I would say having some sort of lockbox with a
Mhm.
key. easily accessible, but only something where that teacher knows where it's at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe a safe with a combo or something.
Yeah, something like that where they can get to it really fast if need be, but not where the kids would have access to it if the
Yeah,
teacher's out of the room or something
right.
like that. Because you got to be cognizant of those things too.
Oh yeah, that could happen too. That could happen too. And remember, a lot of times, sometimes kids snap at school, and they do crazy stuff at school too. So they can end up using that weapon against other kids, and that would be another horrible situation. So it's
Exactly.
it's it's, it's very tricky. Or here's another situation: the teacher carries the gun on them, right? And has secure, and just has to be careful, cognizant, like law enforcement or anything else. It has a holster that it's locked where they can't take it away from them, or make sure that they're not aware of it. And those are things you can talk about, think about. Maybe more funding if you don't want to go that route. Maybe more funding for resource officers, out there to do it. Volunteers, maybe retired law enforcement, or maybe want to volunteer their time. And a lot of people who are volunteer law enforcement, military, that say, you know what, it's my kid's school. I have no problem spending the day here every day, and I'm retired and I can do this and help out the school.
Yeah, and I heard on somebody, I forgot what it was because I listen to so many podcasts nowadays, but they were mentioning about this, and they were saying something like, an extra layer of security, be it a gate or something like that. No, essentially, it sounds like you're turning these schools into a prison, but it's almost a necessity at this point because
Necessity.
we don't want elementary school kids losing their lives, middle school kids losing their lives, or high school kids losing their lives. But we've got to do something in lieu of, an extra form of security.
I
Maybe
agree.
two different gates you got to come through, maybe passing through metal detectors. It might be a minor inconvenience if you're in a hurry to come in there and sign out your kid, but at the end of the day, if it saves one life, it's worth it.
That's all. That's all.
With the amount of money that we're giving away right now to other countries and have given away to other countries in need, maybe we need to address some shit on the home front, here first.
No, I agree. $60 billion in to the Ukraine for aid is fantastic. I mean, obviously the situation is horrific, but we got a situation we have to address here in this country also, and that
Exactly.
is bad. And it's not just schools. You got to remember back. I remember when I was small, back in the '70s, mid '70s, there was minimal security at the airports. You would go pretty much all the way to the gate and check in. There was nothing.
Yeah.
And with more skyjackings and more things happening, by mid '80s, it was complete change. After 9/11, forget it. It's off the chain, and I hate flying. Now that I can't be armed, and I skip all that, and I have to go through it, I'd rather drive everywhere. I can't stand it. It's just brutal, brutal, brutal. Or I like to fly into small airports, because the worst ones are the big airports. I've tried giving up that. Small airports, small security, and that's what I deal with. But back to this point, it can't just not be schools, because look at Buffalo, at the supermarket, the
Yeah.
shopping centers, at Las Vegas. I mean, at a concert. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. And we need a lot of presence. Any big event, I hate to say it, you need almost a SWAT team ready.
And the one place that I've been waiting for something like this to happen, and God forbid I'm not wanting it to. Please don't say that, but I'm just waiting for them to pick like a sporting event, like a major sporting event, because you think of how many people pack into a football stadium, or a baseball stadium, or a
Yeah,
hockey stadium. I mean, thank God they haven't, had that happen yet. Maybe the security has a little something to do with it there. You usually do get wand going in, but I tell you what, years ago, I
they
went to
do.
a Carolina Panthers football game. This was back in 2015. We made our Super Bowl run,
Yeah.
the Panthers. And I'm in there, I'm like in the middle row, and about third quarter, I look up and I see this guy like messing with something up there, but he's hanging over the balcony. So I'm like, maybe he's got to be security or something like that, trying to fix a light or something. I don't know. And the next thing I know, I look up again, there's two of them, and they're hanging from like rappelling equipment. And they dropped this thing down, and it was some sort of banner talking about a pipeline or something like that. It was like a stance that they were taking, and it was hanging up there. And this particular game was on ESPN.
Mm.
So this was on there, and I think they showed it like really quick on ESPN, and then they never went back to them. And I was actually on TV because when they went to the crowd, the area where those people were under, they moved out of the way. Well, I
Sure.
was the first area where they didn't move them, so I was probably like 3 rows in front of where they would have landed had they fell. But I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, how do you get a whole damn thing of rappelling equipment in here, like to hook up and to come down? Like you gotta have I mean, it's all. I'm picturing like the movie Cliffhanger or something, but like you
Yeah.
gotta have a lot of stuff to get in there. How the hell did you pass that through security? I can't even get a mini bottle in here, and these people were rappelling off the top of the stadium.
Yeah, that's crazy. It could be an inside thing. Maybe they knew someone that was working there and they had stuff there for them already.
Could have
That could be
been.
an inside job. And that's something that also worries a lot of people. That there was several movies like that where sporting events are attacked, and it's just a matter of time before that will happen. I mean, I never thought a big attack would happen in Las Vegas with all the security, but it did.
Hmm.
I mean, that guy really, I mean, he set up like a sniper, high power weapons. He had a hole in there. He had cameras outside. I mean, that was insane. He brought his, and maybe that's something else he needed to do hotels also. He brought all his weapons in his bags, and he loaded them all up in his room, and no one thought anything because they don't check people's bags when they go in hotels, right?
Yeah. No.
And,
No,
and look how many people in some of these hotels. That's another issue. How safe are you in hotels? You're not. You're not
yeah.
safe in hotels at all. You're not safe in a lot of these places. And I think that people need to understand that, yeah, we're a country, a gun country. It's a Second Amendment right. We're going to protect ourselves. We're going to protect our families. But unfortunately, a lot of bad people know the loopholes, and they're going to exploit that and use that against us.
Yeah.
That's the
Absolutely.
unfortunate part.
And I seen a post, and I'm sure you may have seen it on Facebook as well, but it really kind of hit home for me in this situation. It was like, after 9/11, we didn't ban planes, we secured
No.
the cockpits.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I think we're in here right now. We need to secure the schools. Obviously, we can't secure every single place. It happens in churches.
Yes.
I'm down here in Charleston, South Carolina, and I think it was about 10 years ago, maybe a little more. You had the Dylan Roof shooting down
Hmm.
here where went into an historic church and was killing people in there. So obviously, I know every place can't be secure, but I definitely think schools needs to be one that there's some sort of funding or something to be done to that to make it a little bit harder because parents drop their kids off, in the
Okay.
morning at school,
Yeah.
just thinking it's a normal day. They're going to go to school, they're going to go to work, they'll see them after school. That's not a portion of time where they should have to worry. They're going to get plenty of that worry time when the kid becomes a teenager and they're going off
Sure.
with their friends and everything else. But you shouldn't have to worry dropping your kid off at an elementary school if they're going to come back home alive. That's just not something anybody needs to worry about.
No, and it keeps on happening. It keeps on happening, and not just elementary school, middle schools, high schools. It happens all over now. It's become an epidemic. So I agree. I think resource officers. I know it's extra funding, but we need to do it.
Yeah.
And like I said, volunteers will help out with armed with weapons. But you need, like I said, people who are going to do their job, and you have to make good decisions because like I said, 80 minutes outside the door, unacceptable. And you know who came in to save the day?
It was a
It
border
was
border guard, wasn't it?
it was Border Patrol, the SWAT team, the BORTAC team came in, and they were even pushed back, and they were held back like 20 minutes, I heard, or more, because they're holding the. I said no, they had to come in. Eventually, they came in, they killed them, they took care of them, they neutralized them, and one of the guys I think got shot in the head, but he's going to be all right. But
I
that's
gotta
amazing.
believe, like, if I'm a parent,
Mm.
I'm so pissed off at that police force for not doing your job at that point. Like, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, and this is not to down law enforcement, but for 80 minutes, you sat outside. I mean, you're not holding up your end of the deal as being law enforcement.
No, active shooter, you got to go in there. Is not a barricade. He already shot kids. They're bleeding out. You need to go in there and you need to take care of business with that guy. Granted, he's got a rifle. He's got two rifles. He has a lot of rounds. Come up with a plan. And yeah, I know you don't have the bunker. I know you don't have some other tools you want. You're not a SWAT team. You're four guys with maybe four pistols, but that's better than what's inside with those kids. And the teachers just got
Yeah.
smoked.
Yeah, they got no help in there. I mean, no chance. Like you said, even if they just realize someone's in there, then I think maybe it changes the game a little bit. It kind of throws them off their game plan. And, uh, and
You, you,
this,
you got
I
to
heard
make
they
them
even
waste.
arrested some of the parents that were trying to go in there.
I didn't know. I didn't hear that part. Did they?
Yeah, I heard.
I
Well,
know
I
they're
don't know if
pushing
they
them. I
arrested
saw
them,
the
but
video.
definitely detained them.
Yeah, I know they're pushing back, but can you blame them? They come with their shotguns, they come with their weapons, and they say, you know what? If you're not going to save our kids, we're going to save them.
Yeah,
Let us
that
go in there.
Texas brother, you can best believe they coming with shotguns, ammo,
Rifles,
whatever. I mean, they
everything,
coming,
pistols.
they're ready to roll.
Yeah, I would too. I'll bring out my ARs or my pistols, my shot. I'll bring everything myself if I had to too. It's it was really, the video is really heartbreaking. I don't know if you've seen it.
The people of Texas are probably embarrassed as hell at how their police force handled that whole thing. Because I know guys from Texas. I know a lot of people from Texas, and I mean, there's a reason why they say their phrase is "Don't mess with Texas," because they don't have
That's
a
right.
problem handling business down there, and that especially something along those lines when it comes to hurting kids, and
Oh,
just
that's
you know
awful.
they fail big time. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lawsuit out of this either. To be quite honest,
Oh, I think there will be. I think he'll be fired. I think
he needs
the
to be.
chief is going to be fired. I think there's going to be some accountability. And I felt like we're talking about politicizing. Beto O'Rourke, what he did at that press conference was just unbelievable. I don't know if you saw it, going out there and politicizing it and making those points when they're doing a serious conference in front of the governor, Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, and others, politicians there. That was just for political gain only. I think he's going to run for governor. I think, and that's what he's doing.
And
That's as far
unfortunately,
as
a
I've heard.
lot of these things are turned into political
Yeah,
motivators for people to push whatever agenda they have. If this is someone that doesn't, it's against, firearms, they're going to use that to push that. People are going to use these tragic situations, and that just makes it all the more sickening. Like I said earlier, it's really aggravating when they do that because that's not really getting to the root of the problem. And we run into this problem with politicians, even presidents that say they're going to do certain things that they can't follow through with. But this is one thing that we need to get an answer to, and it needs to be followed through and put in place. Whether, like you said, whether it's just the funding for more resource officers,
yeah, I
maybe
do.
better weapons, or just some sort, at least maybe at the front doors of every school, have some sort of double barricade, double set of doors that you have to walk through that ensures when you walk through, they can see, just like an airport setup or something like that, they can see you don't have any weapons on you. And if you do, you have to go back and leave them in the car because I know some people might have a legit reason to, have one, be it law enforcement or something along those lines. But the way my wife actually works at a local high school here where I'm at, and it's in our neighborhood. And the way theirs is set up, every door in that school is locked from the outside. You cannot walk up and get in that door.
That's
There's
good.
You can't. The only way you can get in is if somebody comes out of that door and you're standing there, then you can get in that
Then you can
way.
sneak in.
But you
Right.
can't, just come in all willy nilly and open a door. Now you have to go in through the front. Then, and I don't even think theirs is they have a security on there. You can just walk straight in. I think at COVID one time they did have a little something that, you had to buzz yourself in or say why you were there or
Sure.
something like that. But I think that was more or less of, just trying to limit contact. But now I don't even think that's in place. So if you had some sort of like front double doors where you walk into, I know a lot of banks have these, where you walk in and it's basically like another set of door. That one behind you has to lock. The one in the front of you has to unlock, and then you're kind of scan while you're in the middle. Something like that, I think, would just help cut this stuff down.
Yeah, you have to slow them down. You have to make it harder for these people. But remember, and a lot of these cases, especially with Parkland and this one and other ones, these kids were expelled.
Yeah,
They're angry. They know the system. They know how it works because he knew where to come in and where to come from. So they know the
yeah,
weaknesses already because they were in that school already.
yeah.
So you have to deal with that. You have to put in mind these are disgruntled, angry people who have mental health issues that are weapons trained, and they're going to figure a way to come back and punish that school.
Yeah, and I mean,
And that's what they're
we're
doing.
talking of ways for people to get in schools, like you said. What if all these are put in place, and then someone still, if they sit in the back of the parking lot and just
Nope.
wait for school to get out, then you
And
got
then do
all
it
these. You know how packed the parking lot is of school kids
very
waiting
much.
to get out. I mean, they can just have a field day right there with everybody in their cars and nowhere to run. So again, I think it needs to go back to spotting this mental health issue because there's things
Early.
that I think, especially with men, because I mean, I'm not saying there isn't any, but you don't see very many like active
Women.
shooters that are women.
No.
So especially with men, it's looked at as a weakness, or I think for a long time it has. If they admit they need help or admit
Sure.
they
They
have a
do.
problem,
Yeah.
it kind of takes away the masculinity of things.
Right.
But I mean, it's getting better. More people are being more acceptable of it and realizing that it's a problem, but it's still nowhere near where it needs to be.
No, it's a crisis. We're in a crisis mode throughout this country, and you see in many places in the world. And by banning, oh, because he used an assault rifle or an AR-15 style rifle, we should ban that one. No, we had that assault rifle ban back in the 90s during the Clinton era, and guess what? The pre-bans were still illegal, so it'll be the same situation. Anybody had it before, it's going to be able to keep it. So okay, there are the guns anyway. So you get in the private sales and everything else, or you do the workarounds. Like, all right, forget the pistol grip, take that off, and you put your thumb grip in the stock, and you do a workaround, and then you go. You still have the same kind of rifle anyway. So
Hmm.
that's what happened before. It's going to happen again. Those aren't good solutions. That's what people really don't understand, how prevalent guns are everywhere and how the gun laws can be manipulated very easily.
Yeah,
Very easily.
I was actually talking to my wife about that the other day, and when I was 18, I wanted a shotgun, but I wanted to put a pistol grip on it,
Yeah.
and they could not sell it to me with the
Right.
pistol grip on it. But what they could do is they could sell me that shotgun, and then also sell me the grip with it, and then I could turn around and pay them to put it on there. They just could not sell it to me with the pistol grip on there because
Yeah.
then it's considered a handgun, even though
Yeah.
you're not shooting a shotgun with holding it in one hand.
No,
But
getting it from my shoulder.
yeah, um, once
It's
they do
crazy.
that, they're selling it to you, and that's sold as a shotgun. Then as
Right.
soon as it's sold, as soon as it's bought, as soon as it's yours and paperwork's cleared, you can
It's
say,
something
"Hey,
else.
I want to put this handle on this gun," and then they'll take that in the back and they'll do it for you for a few bucks.
So yeah, that's another loophole here. Which, like I said, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're legal age, no big deal.
Yeah.
But again, the crazies, it's the problem. That's with the pistol grip, no pistol grip. Crazy is crazy, and that's the one that no matter what, it's going to kill grandma. It's going to go into school. It's going to do everything else and lose her mind. So, what are some things I think as a retired ATF agent we can improve on? I think I touched base on one of the previous shows, and I talked about my book and the Merchants of Death. Things that we can't tweak, ghost guns. Obviously, the kits that come in there that already have to just assemble it. There's just order it and it goes in the mail. Now, I think there's a law pending that I think they have serialized numbers, and you just one step further, make those ghost guns where you have to fill out the form and do a background check. Come
Hmm.
in person and do it. You just can't order that stuff in the mail and then it gets sent to your house, and then you just assemble it and there you go. That's something I think that's a small step, and I think that's a problem I've noticed before I left ATF when I was in headquarters. Ghost guns were becoming a major problem. The cartels are taking advantage of it. 80, also known as 80 percenters, that just assemble everything, especially the ones that come with the kits, the P80s. They come
Hmm.
already in a packet right there. You just order it. So that needs to be stopped. Um, I hate to say it, and maybe it slows it down a little bit, but a lot of people use straw purchasers, right?
Yeah.
If you're a felon or somebody else, you have somebody else fill out the ATF 4473, and they're lying. It's not for them. It's really for somebody else.
Yeah.
Um, they need to do more time. If somebody buys 10 Glock pistols and you're getting paid for that, and they're going to use it for some crimes or their organized crime, instead of getting, because you have no criminal history, probation, you need to at least service a 5-year min man, at least 5 years. So those are things we have to discourage. Even though this is a little different, it still has to do with trafficking, because gun violence also relates to gang violence.
Right.
A lot of gang violence equals a lot of deaths also. And sometimes you see a lot of shootings, and also the cartels. They kill a lot also. We talked about on the last show what was on about, look what happens when you have strict gun laws where the cartels buy everybody, right?
Yeah.
All the firepower they want, they buy everybody. They're making billions of dollars a year, and the average person can't have squat. They just take over.
Yeah.
And I told the stories what they do, and they do it to everybody. Police, they do it to governors, they do it to anybody. House of Horrors, like I mentioned before. So we don't want that. We want to be able to arm ourselves. We're a society that we arm ourselves. So
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of where I live at, the motto is I would rather always have it and not need it
that's
than to
true.
need it and not have it.
Oh, it's horrible.
Because that's, those are situations you don't want to find yourself in. Is there anything that could possibly be done in lieu of, getting some sort of evaluation done on your mental state or something like that that you can have, that you've been somewhere and gotten checked out or something like that? Is that any way possible for that to be factored in there, or is that just asking too much?
Yeah, I know the forms. If you've been adjudicated guilty, you're supposed to check the box. Of course, it's sometimes hard to verify that kind of information. So those are the issues you have.
Like if
I just think we
someone's
have.
diagnosed with whatever issues that this guy had, or I know the kid from Sandy Hook had some shit going
Yeah,
on too.
yeah.
If somebody's diagnosed with these issues, be it manic depressant or whatever, I don't know if that law should apply for them to be able to get that type of firearm.
Yeah, well, both of them. I mean, look what he did. He stole his mom's guns in Sandy Hook. He didn't even buy them. So a lot of these guys, they know they can't. And some of them know they're already on the radar databases.
Yeah,
So what are they going to do? They're going to steal someone's guns,
yeah,
like he did, killed his mom, put 2 bullets in her head when she was sleeping, and then goes with pistols and kills all those kids over there. So this guy got them as a gifts. They're birthday gifts. So
Yeah,
there we
it
go.
seems like almost any solution we can come up with, if it wants to be done bad enough, there's a
Oh,
workaround.
they can be
Like you
done.
said,
There's
we can
the
come
only
up
thing
with
we want to do is I think if we get anything out of this is mitigate these situations so that a house of horrors, maybe only one or two could have died. You don't have to see 19, 20, 21 die. I think the biggest response is you have to have quick police presence, and you have to have people there that are going to do something.
yeah,
That's a lesson learned, no matter what. Example: courageous enough. Same in Buffalo. The retired lieutenant from the Buffalo Police Department was there. He was working security. He had a pistol. The kid had an AR, and he goes out, line up. He confronts him. He does his job. The kid is full of body armor. Doesn't stop him, and he dies from the injuries. But at least the guy did his job. You know
yeah.
what? I think he realized that he was gonna. When you see a guy with a rifle and you got a pistol, it's not a fair fight.
No, no,
He,
it's
he,
not.
he can shoot from 50 yards easily. And you get maybe best 20, 25. So it's not a fair fight. He's got you, and he's got body armor all over with headgear and everything. He's like a SWAT guy coming in, but at least he didn't hide and run away.
Where
The
the
guy
hell is
did
he
his
getting
job.
this body armor from? Is that something you can just order online too?
Yeah, a lot of stuff you can get online. Private sales, like everything, bro. You go gun
Yeah,
show, flea
yeah,
market. It's
yeah.
amazing what you can find at the flea markets and at the gun shows. There's no background check for any of that stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
You can buy anything you want. You start shopping around, it's amazing what you find. So yeah, he tacked out, he gets all his stuff. You can probably order online, but if you don't want that kind of trail, let's say you think it's gonna, raise some red flags, you go cash only, and you go to these places.
Yeah. That's
That's
crazy. And I
unfortunate things that
remember,
I've
like
seen.
in my high school, guys used to have rifles and gun, not assault rifles. I'm talking about like actually like hunting rifles for
Oh
deer,
yeah.
but that and shotguns in the back of their trucks, like in the high school parking lots. I mean, it just wasn't a thing back then.
Wow.
If something like that would have popped off at my high school back then, it'd have been a really big firefight because like every pickup, hunting was big in my high school. So like every pickup truck had a gun in it. So if that had been an active shooter in that parking lot, he'd have had a hell of a gunfight on his hands for sure.
Yeah,
But I think
for
those
sure.
are just things that times have changed. You won't go through a school now and
You
find a
can't bring it.
shotgun in the back of a window, not no way in the world.
It's illegal.
Yeah,
You can't bring a gun to a school premise. It's illegal, and you cop a felony for that now. So they really make it tougher. But so if that's the case, like I say, you don't want people being armed. You're making it harder. You're putting all these restrictions. Then you need the security. You need law enforcement. You need things that are proactive to counter the bad. Because guess what? It's not going to stop.
yeah. No, it's
This is
not.
not stopping. This will
Unfortunately,
continue to
like you
happen.
said, a lot of
It's gonna happen.
people want to copy it and then try to one up it, and that's what we got to put a cap on real quick because was it, I can't remember his name right offhand, but he done a video where I think he went to a supermarket and shot, but he done the video where like he was flipping a quarter. And he said, "All right, 2 out of 3. If it's heads, I'm gonna go kill people and all that." And it landed on it. And then he went. He had it all documented too. Like he had documented it, him flipping the quarter, and then it landed. I think it was heads first, then it was tails, and it was like the third one that was heads again. And I might have that wrong, but I know the one where he killed people was the one that won. And then he went to a supermarket and just shot up people.
Yeah.
And a
And
lot
that's
of
what
times
also,
in these
yeah,
cases, they tell people they're gonna do it. They'll put it on Facebook. They'll
they
tell
put
their
on Facebook.
friends.
They put it on social media. They put all
Yeah,
these places, and that's why they have to really be on it, and they catch them. And it's sad when they miss it because the tragedies we see. That's why another reason I think with my book, Joe Biden One and Done, um, that he's on the wrong side. He's been on the wrong side of a lot of these issues, and again, he's on the wrong side of the gun control,
yeah.
big time,
No, I
big
believe
time,
it.
the wrong side. He's missing the point. He's been cut up with the left, and he thinks that, oh my God, we have to do what? You want to take our guns so we'll all be victimized? Because bad people are not going to stop.
Yeah,
It's only thing we're going to be hurt. We're going to get punished more. So it's not the guns the problem. It's what's between the ears is the problem.
yeah. That's a major
If
problem.
that's the biggest problem. So you have those. You have the gang members, which I talked to last show, are keeping on growing, getting bigger and stronger. They're not going to stop. They don't care what laws you pass. You ban everything. Okay, well, we're going to keep everything. Good luck with that. And you have other crises going on. His situation is going to be, like I said, it's going to be a red tsunami where we're going to see in the midterm. It's just between that crime going, the border, The situation I've compared him to on another show to Jimmy Carter. He's going to be the same consequences, one and done. I see a lot of good front runners. I mean, the only person I thought Biden could win, could beat, would be if Trump ran again, because the same forces will come together who rather see Biden do 4 more years than see Trump come again.
Yep.
And that will be the moderates and the independents, libertarians, who cannot stand the guy. So if they have a DeSantis, which I think is a great front runner, he did a great job in Florida. He's a governor. With COVID, he kept the businesses open. He worked around the mandates.
I'd vote for him.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a superstar. And look at the disaster in the Northeast New York. The Northeasterners, the New Yorkers came to Florida, escaping all those mandates and problems, and they like him. So that shows he's pro business, a prior military guy. He was in Congress, great governor. I think he will clean clock with Joe Biden. He'll definitely be done. Him, maybe Ted Cruz, was very popular. Marco Rubio, just name it. I think Mike Pence alienated a lot of people, and doesn't look good. The argument, the split these two had. So you see Pence running against Trump. I think that would just help the Democrats show, hey, look what happened here, and that would just help Biden win. So I think DeSantis would be a winning ticket. He looks strong. Let the new generation go. I think Trump did great things. He did great things in his 4 years. I mean, yeah, he had Supreme Court, conservative Supreme Court, the economy. He had the vaccine, the Iranians we talked about. But unfortunately, Twitter, his mouth, all the other problems, things he says, the investigations that keep on getting bigger and bigger against him and his family. He could end up being indicted. Do we want to go through that again? Does he want to be impeached for a third or fourth time? We had 4 impeachments in the history of this country. He had 2 of them in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, like, as to a point, if you're going to continue to do things like that, what could he really get accomplished in another 4 years to begin with if he's got to stay tied up in litigations and shit?
I mean, the Republicans have a chance, and I put this in my book, to really, really, really have the trifecta. Have the trifecta, the House, the Senate, coming up now, because it's pretty much locked. And Manchin, he might even come over. Joe Manchin is pretty much a Republican, and he's very conservative. He stopped, and Joe Biden had the House and Senate for 2 years and got almost nothing done. Nothing done. And he loses both the House, for sure the House. I think they'll lose the Senate. Pelosi's not going to be Speaker anymore. Schumer will be gone. Chuck Schumer also, for Senate Majority Leader, he'll be gone. And then you have the conservative Supreme Court, and then 2024. Biden might not even run. His own party can't stand him. The socialists don't like him.
He might not run. I think there's a very good chance. I don't even think he tries to run again, to be quite honest. Pelosi better just make sure her husband's got an Uber driver.
Yeah. Do you want him being in his mid-80s to be president of the United States?
No, not a bit.
no one does. And this might be worse than Jimmy Carter, because at least Jimmy Carter, he had the House and the Senate, and he had more stuff done. He might get nothing done, and he might be like a Lyndon B. Johnson because of the Vietnam War. He said, you know what? I'm not even going to seek the presidency now in 1968.
Yeah.
Just look for that. That could be a historical moment also. He might not run for office. He might say, you know what? I took out Trump. It won't be Trump again. And you know what? We move on, and then some real good changes will happen with this country.
Well, I hope so, because we certainly need them. We've touched on a few things here, folks. Let us know what your thoughts and comments are below. Before we get out of here, Ignacio, we said on our first episode, and you've got another one in production right now that's going to be out real soon. You're a writer. You've got a ton of good books. Tell folks where they can go to find some of your work real quick before we get out of here.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. On Amazon, that's where I have all my work. And you find it in my name, Ignacio, Ignacio, middle initial J, Esteban, Esteban. You can follow me on Amazon. I'm on Facebook. Just find out all different on YouTube, on different platforms. They're good books. Most of them under $10, most of them under $5, reasonably priced, well-researched books, short reads, good reads. But I think most people will like this one, Joe Biden, One and Done. And I do touch a lot about my autobiography, solutions to the gun problems we have in this country. I also do it in Merchants of Death and ATF Mexico and the drug cartels post Fast and Furious. I talk about solutions because I was, like I said, a retired ATF agent. I also was in headquarters after years of undercover work. I was there with the command staff. I saw a lot of things that are going on, and I see a lot of things that we can improve on and help on and solve some of these problems. But we have to be proactive, and taking our guns and our Second Amendment rights is not the solution, in my opinion.
Well, there you have it, folks. We like to get information and opinions straight from the source, and it don't get any better than that. We hope everybody enjoyed this episode of Crime and Entertainment. We hope everybody got something out of it. And in the comments, folks, see if you have an idea that we could do to help some of this. Like we said, there's always a solution, but the bad guy will always find a workaround. It's a nonstop job for us to figure out ways to stop them. It's a nonstop job for them to figure out ways to do them, just as it is in crime and everything else in this country. So this is a battle we definitely need to win. We don't need to have any more of these school shootings, supermarket shootings, church shootings, subway shootings. It really needs to stop, and hopefully we are on the cusp of trying to figure out a way to slow that down and eliminate it eventually completely. Ignacio, I thank you for stopping by the show, man. A pleasure as always. I'll put a link to your Amazon books in the show notes if people want to go check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Hollywood Wade. That was Ignacio Esteban, and unfortunately, we are out of time. Tune in next week for an all-new episode of Crime and Entertainment. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, sir. All righty.